For paper 1, question 3, you're going to get a question about comparing and contrasting. This question is worth 6 points. And so if you think about compare as half of it and contrast for half of it, you're trying to get each of those split with 3 points coming across in both. It will specifically ask you to compare and contrast two different sources in the reading. Be sure to do the right sources, otherwise you're going to lose a whole lot of points on this one. So once you've identified the correct two sources, be aware that this is about content. We're no longer doing origin, purpose, value limitations for a historian. Instead, we're comparing and contrasting the content of these. There are occasionally times where the author or purpose might be relevant to it, for instance, primary versus secondary sources, but you're essentially looking at the very end of the question, the root of the question, and comparing and contrasting on those two subjects. I highly recommend formatting it as a comparison paragraph and then a contrast paragraph. That's the easiest way to do this, and you should think about evening them out as much as possible, because IB is going to pick two sources that are both comparable and different at the same time. There are a few people who will intermix the idea, but that becomes really hard for the reader to very quickly check off what you've got and how many, and it gets their brain thinking to two different sides. So for this 6-point question, start with the comparisons. Try to find as many as you can, but think about finding 3 or 4. Then move on to the contrast portion, and once again, find 3 or 4 different things that they might disagree on. Remember that you can write on your test copy, which means you should be. Try to circle something or underline something that you think might be a comparison and the other being a contrast. Create a shorthand that makes it very easy for once you read it, you have all of your ideas, and then after you start writing, you don't forget those because you can go back to the markings that you made.